Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are currently working on our processing module for the space station, and after running some numbers off camera and doing some experimentation, I have come to the conclusion that the Convertitron 125 is actually impossible to maintain at peak efficiency. You can reach equilibrium at a fairly, well, at like 95% efficiency, but it's actually impossible to maintain at peak efficiency. And actually, after I did this, I went and looked at the wiki because I was like, surely that isn't right. And they actually mentioned, yeah, it's actually impossible. So we're actually not going to use the Convertitron 125. We're going to go up to the Convertitron 250. We're just going to step that up, and we're also going to step up the fuel tank that goes in here. And I think that's a Rockamax size? Yes, indeed that is. So it'll be something along the lines of this. And maybe we want to have a larger ore storage tank as well, but I believe, yeah, that's actually all we can have. This is all we've got right now. This should be fine. I wonder how long it'll take to burn through that. I mean, we will definitely need to have these additional solar panels. Like, we're not going to be launching like this, right? It's going to be not launching with empty fuel in this tank and full ore. That's not going to be how we're going to do this. But I do want to just put on some thermal protection here, and I'm going to put on just a pair of medium thermal controls, and I think that this will be efficient enough for the Convertitron here. And it looks like we can't actually attach those directly to the Convertitron. However, the thermal control systems do draw from other parts. So this should be okay if we put it here. We extend that radiator, and then we're going to just put this up into space as a simulation and just check our thermal system. I believe that this will work, and if not, I believe that we can get this to equilibrium at the correct temperature. So let's go ahead and just put this into the simulated orbit. There we go. And we are going to go ahead and start this up. And we're going to... No, I don't want to retract these radiators. We're going to extend the radiator back out. There we go. Yeah, you can see here. We are at the correct temperature. Perfect. Technically, this is overkill. But, I mean, it might be useful to have some other parts there. Oh, and by the way, I think I solved the hitching issue that I was having in the last episode. We'll see. Hopefully I did. But I installed new graphics drivers, and I installed new graphics drivers, yeah, and I also restarted the computer. And together that seems to have helped anyway. So hopefully that is in progress. But yeah, we can see here we're not burning through this ore super quickly, but that's, to be expected. This is not a short-term project. So this is perfect. We're going to revert that back. That works exactly as I expected it to. And we're going to go ahead and retract these solar panels as well as the thermal control system there. And we're going to put in a fairing here. I think a relatively small fairing. And that's going to be like a 1.25 meter fairing. Should be sufficient here. I want this to be a quite small fairing along the lines of this, although I kind of hate that. We're going to edit that fairing, bring that back to be something like this, and then have it close in a little bit more gently. Not like that. Like that. That's a little bit better. Now, I don't have communications on this, and I'm wondering if we're going to need it. What is the antenna built-in range on the Probodobodyne Octo 2? That is something I should check into. 5K? I think that'll be good enough. Okay, so we're going to put in a maneuvering engine here, and we may as well go for, like, a Kodiak. No, I'm kidding. We may as well go for a Poodle. That will be absolutely fine here, and then we will put in a decoupler. As far as why it went into 4K last episode, I got nothing. We'll see if it happens this episode. It may or may not. Okay, so we're going to do this, and this is going to be our maneuvering stage. We are going to be full on liquid fuel and oxidizer. We're going to not carry any ore. And what is this thrust to weight? I mean, it's awful on the ground, but we expect that. That's pretty normal. We're going to go ahead and put in, I think, a couple of X-64s, may as well make them orange. I like the big orange tank. And let's see what our thrust to weight with a mainsail is here. Do we need to heavy lift this? 1.36, so we probably should. At 1.36, we're going to be losing a lot of our fuel mass to just fighting gravity. So I feel like we should put on some form of heavy lift here. We'll go ahead and put on a pair of radial decouplers over here, and we'll just put on some SRBs, I think, probably Pollux's. And we'll go ahead and move those right on down, have their attach point be about there, and then we'll move the actual decoupler down a little bit, like so. That will do nicely. And then we'll put in some aerodynamics here, a protective rocket cone. There we go. And we may as well also strut this up. I say may as well, but we absolutely have to strut this up. So as usual, we're going to want to connect this up here. And then we're going to connect that down like that, just so that we don't have a bend here. And then we're going to want to connect it down here as well, just to make sure we're nice and rigid. So we'll connect it something... That's awful. We'll connect it something more along the lines of, hopefully, just connect it. That'll do. So what's that thrust to weight once we combine all this together? That thrust to weight is 1.82. That is a much, much better thrust to weight. Excellent. That would be much more efficient. And do we need anything else in this? Well, obviously we have a... Do we have a docking port on this? We don't. We're going to need a docking port. That would be helpful. We'll put a Clampatron docking port right there, and that's actually going to cover up everything else that's there. And that's actually going to stick out of the fairing, so we're going to need to edit the fairing. Let's do something along the lines of this, and then we'll close it in about like that. That'll do. Technically, I don't think we even need this fairing, now that I think about it. What if we were to just ditch the fairing and just lift it like this? It's probably fine, right? What is the maximum thermals on that cargo port? 2000 Kelvin compared to a fairing, which is 2600 Kelvin. I think we're probably going to be okay. We might get going a little quick in the atmosphere for the docking port, and if that's the case, then we can put the fairing back. But we can save ourselves a little bit of weight there, and this should be absolutely fine. Now, the next question is, do we want to attach the actual mining craft directly to the processing module? And I think the answer to that is yes. So let's go ahead and have another pair of docking ports like that. And those docking ports are, of course, designed for the craft. In fact, maybe we should use Clampatron Juniors for the craft, because the craft are going to be much smaller. So we can use smaller docking ports so that we don't use that for bigger craft that we don't intend to have there. Once again, this is going to be a relatively small module, but I think it's all good. Let's go ahead and save that. I haven't given it a fancy name based on a location in our Hearts of Iron game, but also kind of can't be bothered to. So that decouples, and then these fire simultaneously. Yeah, this looks good. This looks absolutely good. I like it. Let's go ahead and launch this, and we're going to see if our docking port burns off. If it does, we'll call it a failure and put a fairing on, but I think we'll be okay. Hopefully we'll be okay. Maybe. Well, we can go ahead and grab our gravity scan here and get at least 56% of it. Or we can keep it and recover the vessel and get all of it, which I suppose we might as well do. Everything else we will send back to Kerbin, though. Okay, 6 science. Woo! Fantastic. Okay, let's launch another one. And that is, of course, going to be the processing module, which is, these are exactly the same. We'll go ahead and launch this guy. Excellent. And we will be sending back some additional readings via the reverse gravioli detector, of course. This is a reverse gravioli detector, right? It's on here. It's actually hidden under the docking port. So, I don't know. Actually, I want to double check that. Let's revert that back to vehicle assembly. And let's double check that all of the science experiments that we want on here are aboard. So we've got the negative gravioli detector, which is the gravity scan. And is there anything else that we need? We already have, or we don't need that. We can't use it. Anything else? The seismic accelerometer is something that we could potentially run on a landing craft. Yeah, I think everything's good here. So let's just go ahead and launch this and give this a go. Again, if that docking port burns off, then we can call it a failure and just head on back and put on a fairing. But I'm kind of gambling at this point that it won't. Okay. Go ahead and throttle that up. SAS on. And we are going to launch. Good speed off the pad. We're going to go pretty much straight up here for a little bit. And oh, I didn't think about aerodynamics on this thing. Yikes! I knew I was forgetting something. We're probably going to tumble. I can already see that we're rotating. We could just go straight up, but we also have no KER on this. Yes, I'm aware. Oh, we can't save while we're in flight? Hang on. That's standing by to launch? Okay, so we'll recover that, and that is 70,322, so 71,000. That's an awkward amount, but we'll go ahead and deduct that. I should have checked all of this. It's my own fault. So we'll take 100,000 off, and then we'll add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. There we go. We'll call it a failure. And the failure was in aerodynamics, because I didn't even think about it. It was 100% my own fault. Can't blame anybody else. I should have checked it. The aerodynamics, we're of course just going to slot on here a couple of... What are we looking for? We're looking for airplane tail fins. And we're just going to do something along the lines of... that. To do the trick, let's double check our center of mass compared to our aerodynamics. I mean, it's going to be very stable, but maybe move it up ever so slightly, like that. Okay, and we'll launch this again. This is, again, not a simulation. I have faith in this at this point. I have faith that I can at least get it into orbit. Let's see. Okay. Off we go, with some actual aerodynamics on this thing. No fairing, but that is, of course, completely fine. 100 meters per second. Excellent. We're going to begin getting a little bit of horizontal velocity. Excellent. This is tipping over very slowly. I knew this would be quite stable, though. So that's okay. We're already starting to move pretty quick here. I still don't have a KER on here, but whatever. We actually don't need it for this. It's just a convenient thing to have most of the time. We're just making our way slowly over towards that prograde marker right now, trying to hold roughly the correct attitude. Okay. Hello, prograde marker. There we go. So far, this looks okay in terms of heating, but we're moving up through the thinner portion of the atmosphere now. SRBs are off. And what's our apoapsis looking like? Oh, that's plenty. Okay, we're looking good on that front. Let's go ahead and add a maneuver at this apoapsis, and we will push that out. Like so. To be something like this. This'll... it's not timed quite right. Close enough. Close enough. We are going to be exiting into space very shortly. I'm going to begin slowly working on rotating over. We also don't have... We don't have any SAS on this, do we? I'm a moron. We also don't have any RCS. Wow. I mean, I said that this wasn't a simulated flight, but we could say that I simulated it for the aerodynamics this time. And the aerodynamics were fine. There was no problem there. But we do have a couple of other issues. We're just going to do it this way. I'm going to call it another failure. I should have checked this. I know that this checklist exists. I need to do it. I'm just trying to move too quick. Got to pay more attention. There we go. We'll call that a failure. We don't need to do any adjustment to our income because of it. And what do we need to do with this? Well, we need to put on two things. We need to put on a reaction wheel. And I'm going to put the reaction wheel right up here. We will make that be... Is that a medium? Or actually, I believe we need a large reaction wheel here. That'll do. And then we need some RCS. So we'll put some RCS on here, and we'll quad couple that there. Excellent. And then we'll need some RCS fuel, which we will, of course, put in over here. And that should be more than enough monoprop to make this happen. Excellent. Okay. I think now we're actually ready to launch this thing. Hopefully. We'll find out, I guess. Can't believe I messed that up twice. Oh, I'm so mad at myself right now. Okay. Up we go. Excellent. In that nice dawn sunlight. Actually, that looks really nice. If only it was in 4K. Unfortunately, my graphics card, not that good. I have not yet managed to locate a decent graphics card. To no one's surprise, because those don't exist, it seems. Okay, we'll just slowly start making our way over here. We're moving up pretty quickly, so I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive on this turn. We are quite stable here. That's not a surprise. And we'll just make our way on over towards that prograde marker. We're moving pretty quickly here. Prograde marker is liking to change on me. I'm just actually going to hold here for a moment. How are we doing on apoapsis? It's a bit on the low side. So yeah, this is fine. That is some slightly glitchy shadows there, but okay, we'll accept it. Okay, we're definitely cruising here. There's no doubt about that. Let's get to that prograde marker and hold it. SRBs are off. Let's check our apoapsis. Apoapsis is fine. Great. We'll go ahead and add a maneuver at the apoapsis, not a radial burn. Thank you very much. And we will instead just change that position a little bit and do a prograde burn to about... Oh, wait. I bypassed it. That's close, but not quite where I want it to be. About there. That'll be good. Okay. Let's go ahead and rotate over towards that. We have SAS now, so we can actually do this. Tends to help. This is claiming to be a 47-second burn, but we won't actually know until we get into space here. Okay. We overshot it a little, but we are fighting that. We're in space now, and we'll go ahead and gravity scan this. We're also going to extend these solar panels. This is going to be a 44-second burn, so T minus 22 seconds is when we want to do this. And we will select the rechargeable power bank, but rather I'm trying to select the module here. Not you. That's the monoprop tank. I know you're in there somewhere. There we go, the Probodobodyne. We'll just transmit that data. No usable in-range comms devices. Okay, we'll just hold this then. And we'll use it on the station. That'll be okay. We can always grab this later, this data. So in about 11 seconds, we will commence this burn, and this is actually going to get us into orbit with just this fuel, so that's great. We'll begin this burn now, in fact. Excellent. And off we go into orbit. Of course, we don't have KER, so I'll have to do this the old-fashioned way, but that's not a big deal. 700 meters per second left in this orbital insertion burn. Make that 500. And yeah, we'll be able to use some of this fuel heading out to the moon. Only a couple hundred of meters per second, but that's okay. Not bad at all. And... are we good? Good enough. Perfect. So of course we're heading to the moon, and the moon is actually in a pretty decent transfer window for us here. We can burn somewhere around here. Yeah. We are going to come in prograde here. Looks like we've got ourselves a bit of an inclination to work on. That's fine. We can definitely do that. Something along the lines of this. Flatten that out a bit. Just want to line it up like so. And just tweak it a little bit. That's probably good enough. We can adjust it later on. Excellent. So let's line up for that. Of course, we're going to be losing our light here pretty soon, but we should have enough power to get through the dark side, I hope. There's an alternator on this engine. We do have 205 electric charge, so that should be good. This is a 1 minute 11 second burn, so we will want to burn this at T minus 36.5 seconds. And we will go ahead and warp towards that here. Excellent. You can see here our power drain is not too bad. So that is very good to see. And we will continue to burn towards that 36.5 second mark. Or rather, not burn, but time warp. We're not going to burn yet. That would be foolish indeed. But we are going to burn right about now. And off we go to the moon. Okay, we'll ditch that stage. Off we go. And we should have more than enough Delta V to make this happen. Absolutely. And we'll have some space left in this tank for any conversions that we'll be able to do a little bit later on. That is, of course, wonderful. And we'll store this science that we collected in the station's science processing lab. It'll be better for us there anyway. So that'll be fine. About another 300 meters per second left in this burn. Our thrust to weight is actually pretty good. I'm very pleased about that. Not going to bother extending the thermal control system until after we've docked. But we will have to consider its extension before we dock. Okay. Yeah, it does seem like I did manage to fix that hitching issue that I was noticing in the last episode. I did look at the resulting video and it looked like it did come through. So I apologize for that, but it looks like it is now fixed. So that is wonderful. We'll call that good enough. And once we come in here, we will go ahead and circularize this up. Something along the lines of this. We'll go ahead and warp to that. Goodbye, Kerbal. Goodbye indeed. And we will show up at the moon very shortly. I would love to grab this gravity scan, but we'll probably have to grab that with something else. Maybe another moon mission, since we know we do need to go to the moon in Minmus. This is going to be a pure retrograde burn. So we're just going to flip over to retrograde, and this is going to be in let's see, 23 seconds, so a total of 11.5 seconds before the T marker. That is fine. We'll warp towards that. And we should have been burning a little bit ago, but it's fine. No big concerns there. So let's just get this thing in position. I made so many mistakes between this episode and last episode that I kind of want to go a little longer and redeem myself by docking this thing this episode. So let's go ahead and do that. It might take a little bit longer, but that's fine. No concerns on that front. We'll call this good in terms of our apoapsis and periapsis. And let's just go ahead and set up our inclination here, which it looks like this is about the right camera angle for that. And let's just go ahead and change our inclination to be... Looks good, or good enough anyway. So we don't have KER, we'll have to do this by eye. That's okay. And that's only 36.4 meters per second. We'll align for that, and we'll warp to that maneuver. Excellent. Only a 2-second burn, so at T-minus 1 second is when we want to do this burn. We'll do this now. How's that? Not great. The node shifted under us, so let's just go ahead and fix that by going to the actual node. How's that? Reasonable. We'll call it reasonable. Okay, so at this periapsis, what would it look like? We want to set the space station core as our target, of course. Yeah, 0.6 degrees. Probably close enough. Actually, we maybe can change that a little bit more. Let's just head over to the normal node. And is this the correct direction? Nope. Anti-normal. I mean, we're not at the ascending node, so we should probably actually warp to the ascending node. Go ahead and do that. And let's just fix this inclination. It will bother me. And I mean, we'll have to fix it eventually anyway, right? So we may as well do it now. We do have our connection, which is great. I was a little concerned about that, to be honest. That was an overshoot. Okay. Go back over here and tweak that a little bit. 2, 1. Good enough. There's the correct inclination. Okay, so now let's see what would happen if we were to attempt an intercept. Yeah, this is pretty far away. We're basically on the exact wrong side. So let's go ahead and delay that until here. Separation of 3.5 kilometers. Looks good. AC 1.0. 0.7, 0.2, 0.0 kilometers. That's maybe a little too close. But we'll give it a go. So that's going to be, what, a pure retrograde burn, I think? What, by the time we get there? So we'll go ahead and warp towards that next maneuver. This is a 6-second burn, so T minus 3 seconds is, of course, when we want to burn this. And we will be losing our connection at some point to the space station core, but I think we can relay through the experiment control station. I think. Yeah, this will be a pure retrograde burn. And we will go ahead and warp towards that. Hopefully we don't lose connection just as we're going to do this burn. That would be really awkward. Okay. So we'll burn this at T minus 3. And I'm going to burn this a little... Actually, I'll max this out for now. But we'll burn this a little bit gently here. I want to make absolutely certain that this is good. We'll go on to stability assist and do a little bit of node chasing. How's that looking? 0.5 kilometer? Yeah, that's actually completely okay. So we'll go ahead and warp to here. That's 52 minutes in the future. Excellent. And where's the station at? Station is 7 kilometers away. So we want to go to target retrograde here. Now we are currently on the dark side, we are going to be passing around pretty soon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kill our relative velocity when we're roughly that half kilometer away. And once we are that half kilometer away, then we'll wait and go around until we are in the sunlight so that we know that we have power. Because it is very awkward if we don't have power. So we're about 3 kilometers away right now, and I'm going to go ahead and time warp in a little bit here. We just loaded in the actual model. 800 meters, I'm going to burn it now. Okay, we've overshot a little bit here, but it's not too bad. 2, 1. There we go. We are roughly moving in the same speed in orbit. We've got a good rendezvous here. Now I'm going to go ahead and warp 6 minutes in the future until we have ourselves sunlight. Perfect. We're going to kill our relative velocity again. We're in a slightly different orbit, so we were always going to have some changes here. And let's just proceed over to here. And then let's actually just burn towards target. Something around 5 meters per second should be good. There we go. And we'll flip over to target retrograde. And we're just getting a little closer here. I'm just going to drop us at 0.1 meters per second. And we'll come in until we are roughly 100 meters away. This is going to be a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and warp it. And here we come. We're about 200 meters away. 130. I'm going to go ahead and begin doing this now. We'll kill our relative velocity. There we go. Almost exactly 100 meters, and we will go ahead and flip around towards the target here. Excellent. Using our reaction wheels. There we go. And position ourselves right here. I do want to make sure that... Looks like we actually might need to get a little bit closer. Ah, there we go. This is our docking port that I want to target. And let's just move in at about 1 meter per second. I'm going to turn RCS on. And I'm going to adjust our heading a little bit here. Okay. There we go. I do want to have the RCS set to manual only. That would be a nice thing to do. Okay. In we come. Just cutting off a little bit of speed here. And this is already in a decent attitude. I mean, we can probably roll it a little bit. Nope. Nope. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Not right now. Okay. Just bring this in a little. We're at a slight angle here, which is fine. We can fix that. And that is something that we'll do, probably. If we have to, this might actually be okay. We're pretty much right on target right now. I'm going to bring us back to about 0.5 meter per second now. Just adjusting our heading a little bit. And yeah, you can see here we're coming in at a slight angle, but I think it's good enough. I think Kerbal Space Program is okay with this. Almost. We might be good now. No, not quite. Okay. RCS off, and let's just attempt to wiggle our way in here a little bit. And RCS back. We don't appear to be docking. I can't help but notice. This definitely should be docking, I feel like. Let's back off a little bit. And maybe try going back in. SAS off, please. Actually, SAS just hold position here. Get us stable. I really feel like we should be docked here. Like, I really do. Okay. I'm going to turn SAS off, RCS on, and we're just going to back off a little. Okay. I guess that's all we needed to do. Perfect. So we'll accept that, and we will go ahead and move our science here. Let's see here. We need to select the negative gravioli detector, which is in here somewhere. I know it's in this docking port somewhere. There it is. We'll review that, and we will process that in the lab. Wonderful. So that is our processing module attached. That's great. With that, it is well past time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we are going to bring up a mining module, which I will go ahead and extend this radiator at this point. We may want to try to rotate this. This docking port might be slightly obstructed here. But that's something we can handle at a different time. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.